Hey there, welcome back for part 8 of How to Fix US Soccer. And today, we're not going to be talking about US Soccer. No, we are, right? We're getting rid of them. And we're going to bring in bags o' money, is what we're going to call it. So, there's the thing that I'm learning about as a US soccer fan that makes me really, really upset. And I'm doing my best not to be like one of those shows you see on TV where it's like just angry guy versus other angry guy on different point. I'm not trying not to do that, but I learned about something through playing Football Manager and through doing some research after the U.S. failed to qualify for the World Cup about this thing called solidarity payments. Now, at first glance, anyway, solidarity payments sounds like something a government pays another government and, to make amends or, to make things right for something that happened 60 years ago or whatever, right? It's actually a really fascinating concept, and it goes into something that I know people have been waiting for videos on pay to play, pro rel, stuff like that. That is coming, but I want to give you this video today because I think it builds the argument for, or against, it doesn't necessarily build the argument. It's a significant part of an argument about pay to play. So I want to talk about this separately because I felt like if I plugged it into the other video, it'd be quite a long video. So solidarity payments, here's how this works. Pretty much everywhere else in the world, when a youth player, which is essentially somebody up to age 23, transfers clubs, generally speaking, for money, right? So a player gets sold from the youth team of Bayern Munich to Chelsea, and Chelsea pays them the equivalent of $2 million for the transfer of that youngster. When that happens, in the rest of the world, 5% of that transfer fee is taken, it's kind of like a tax, and distributed to the clubs that were the youth club of the player from age 12 to age 23. Why is this a big deal? Okay, so you take a $2 million transfer. Let's just take a $1 million transfer. 5% of that is $50,000. Obviously, $2 million, it'd be $100,000, and so on and so forth, right? So it's whenever they have those transfers, the youth clubs are getting revenue for that, which then allows them to not have to charge as much, in theory, to have you come play for them. And again, I'm not going to get all the way down into pay for play, but the money has to come from somewhere, right? Like either, there's essentially like government can pay for it, players / their parents can pay for it, or you can pay through solidarity fees through transfers. And what that does, it incentivizes clubs to do a good job. Because if you develop a player for 4 years before they move on, or for 6 years before they move on and sign a big contract, or get transferred to another club and they get signed for a contract, you get compensated for your good work. Because obviously, if you've done a poor job with training that player, you wouldn't necessarily get compensation because they may not pan out. They may not get that huge transfer. And even small transfers would be not insignificant, right? $100,000 transfer is like nothing in today's European transfer market. That's $5,000 for a club potentially. That's not small money. Like that's a lot of soccer balls and goals and field rentals and stuff like that. It all comes into play. So solidarity payments is how, from my understanding, a vast majority, if not the entire rest of the world, helps fund their youth clubs. Now, I don't know. There may be other youth clubs that have pay to play outside the United States. I don't know that because I'm not done researching that topic. But the solidarity payments incentivizes youth clubs to do a good job with training up youth players in hopes that youth player goes on and does good things, and then they will get compensated for it. It's a genius move. Like, life to me is all about incentives. Why don't you break the law? Well, because bad things can happen to you, like going to jail, right? Or fines or whatever it is. Okay, well, if you do a poor job with developing youth, you're not going to earn that solidarity, payment. That's not going to come through for your club. And if you're not charging for players, well, eventually your club's going to go out of business. Right? So, okay, if you do a great job with it and you develop a world-class player or a really good player that makes it to the Premier League or the Bundesliga or something like that, you get rewarded for that, which then enables you to generate, theoretically, more really good players and generate more solidarity payments. And now you're not having to ask parents to pony up $1,000, $2,000, $4,000 a season to be part of your youth club. Boy, that's a genius idea. Okay, well, in the United States, the U.S. Soccer Federation has outright blocked solidarity payments before. Why? That doesn't make any sense. That's insanity. Here's free money for your youth clubs. And we're good. There was again, I don't know if this is a truthful thing, so I'm going to say there was a thing that was an accusation leveled at U.S. Soccer that when Jeff Cameron, who up until the last 2 games of the Hex was a starting center back for the U.S. men's national team. Thank you, Bruce Arena. He's a Premier League player, plays for Stoke. He's pretty good. He's in the Premier League. Even if he's on the bench, he's in the Premier League. Like, he's pretty darn good, right? When he was purchased, I don't know if it was the first time or when he went to Stoke or whatever. The club sent over the paperwork for the solidarity payment. And U.S. Soccer sent it back with an X, like they on the contract, because this is how you void out parts of contracts. They wrote an X through it, said like, "Don't bother. No one's going to come asking for it." Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That is crazy talk. Everybody else does it. It's a known thing. It's like it's built into the price of the transfer. Like, okay, we're going to give 5% of this. That. Like, it's not a big deal. It's literally, I look at it as like a tax. It's a player tax. And that player tax enables more really good players to get developed and into more professional teams. It's a really healthy cycle. Why would you say no to free money? I don't understand this. Now, there are things that's like, well, it could break antitrust law, and they're worried about being a single entity in MLS and whatever. Figure that out, man. Like, I don't care what you got to do. If you want a really good youth soccer setup, which you would think over time with those good players getting exposure, getting sold, moving over to Europe or wherever, getting to better clubs outside of the United States or even inside it, that's fine. You're encouraging the movement of players through cash. That over time is going to lead to better American players, a better U.S. men's national team. It's just reality. You want more players? Okay. Incentivize people to start youth clubs. Like, don't set it up as a charity. That's not going to be like the American way. I don't think is going to be that way, where it's like, well, for the good of the community, I'm going to finance having these fields and these trainers and these coaches who also, by the way, want to be paid. I'm just going to do it out of the goodness of my heart. That's not going to work. We got cost of living. Coaches got to make money, whatever. Well, where can that money come from? Develop youth players. I'm not saying exclusively. There's a lot of factors that go into pay for play in the overall youth system in the United States, and I'm probably just going to scratch the surface in that video when we get to it. But you don't provide any incentive right now. Like, I would love to go start a new club in my area. We have 2. My son is involved in one. It's his first season. It's a little disorganized. Like, update the website with a schedule. Send out an email letting us know like it's closed. I know he's in the under 5s, but like I feel like a better job could be done. Why would I go start that if there was an incentive that you could fund your operations some way? And the only way you're going to fund operations right now in the US is to have players paid to be part of your club. And that's part of the problem. So solidarity payments was this thing that like I'd heard about, but I didn't know much about. But it turns out it's a pretty freaking big deal. I wanted to show you one thing. In the this is FIFA's documents on the regulations on the status and transfer of players, which is commonly referred to as the RSTP. Solidarity mechanism. So because when you hear 5%, it's like, well, what does that mean? It breaks it down. If there were different clubs for each season of the player's birthday, that club gets a chunk of that 5%. So let's go back to our $1 million example, right? So if a player is transferred for $1 million, I guess I could take the bag of money. We're going to leave it on there. Makes sense. If a player is transferred for $1 million, there essentially will be a pot of $50,000 that is then divvied up based on this chart to one or more clubs. Like, this could all be the same club, and they would just get the straight $50,000. Or like these 3 or 4 right here, you know, would get 1% of the 5%, if that makes sense. So they would get 20% of that 50,000. They get 10 grand because they were the club age 12 through 15, right? And then this club would get whatever, up one, they would get the next 20%. So it enables, it's not just like one club gets it, it is evenly distributed depending on, like, the player may have moved because their family had to move, or, you know, better club came calling, and whatever it is. That's how that works. I think it's genius. There's a thing up here called training compensation, which is a little bit more complicated, where it's based on the cost of actually training the player. My understanding is that's not nearly as much money as, hey, Clint Dempsey, DeAndre Yedlin was a common example, was just transferred for like $3.7 million, and his youth clubs are getting nothing for that. When in theory, they should be getting, what is that? Well, 3.7 million is 370,000 would be 10%. So whatever, almost 200 grand. It's called 185 grand. Is that right? Something like that. They're getting a ton of money potentially as part of that solidarity mechanism, but no one's getting it. Nobody gets it. That would do a lot of good in youth soccer. I'm just saying. In the United States. So I thought I'd explain that because I think it's really fascinating. It's something that I had no idea about. I was not educated upon it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you're in the US. Had you heard of solidarity payments? Was this useful to find out? If so, smash a like on it, share it with your friends, put it on Facebook, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. If you're outside of the US and you're like, well, you kind of described it, but not really, more than welcome to join in the comments. This is all about educating the US soccer consumer so that we can essentially encourage better change at the upper levels of US soccer. So eventually we get a better men's national team. I think solidarity payments is a fascinating topic. I think it's a brilliant way to provide incentives, and life's all about incentives. So again, smash a like on it. That really helps out the video and the channel. Subscribe if you're new, comment, and then share this bad boy wherever you think a US soccer fan would be, and have them come watch it, and they can leave their comments too. We'll see you in the next one. I do have pay to play and pro roll coming. I've been researching because I don't want to put out just a bad video, and those things are coming. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's fix US soccer.